Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to another episode of News for Normies. And if you have a normie in your life that needs to hear some news, share this video with them, because we have a lot to cover today. I'm going to start off with some stuff here in my home state. Apparently, the village of Ripley, Ohio is without an active police department at this time. That's not good. I hope they get that all figured out relatively soon because, we all know that there are bad people out there. So, Ripley, hope you get it together. Likewise, a chemical plant in Macedonia, Ohio, had an explosion there earlier this week. I'm not entirely sure what the cause of it was, and I hope that nobody was hurt or killed, but it's a little strange that happened. So maybe it was just a workplace accident. I'm not entirely sure. Moving on to more nationwide news. This is hilarious to me. Joe Biden claims that he's really ahead in the polls. And he also claims that people have money to spend right now and touts economic growth despite CPI numbers saying otherwise. If you have less money now than before, hit that like button and share it with somebody who thinks that Biden's doing a good job, because he's not. And it's not just affecting working people like you and me. Large chain restaurants are also feeling Biden's, growing economy, because large chains like Red Lobster are filing for bankruptcy and are closing down stores all across the country. I think when I heard about this last, there were about 50 stores across the country that are set to close. So that's about one per state. May not seem like a lot, but you got to think these are, big corporate chain restaurants that have been around for a while. So if they're not doing so hot, then that kind of shows that Biden's economy ain't doing so good either. Even more hilarity coming from, our current commander-in-chief. Biden has finally agreed to debate Trump for the presidential campaign. And he did so in a 13-second video that had 5 jump cuts, and the agreement had several caveats to it. Now first, if you cannot speak for 13 seconds without your speech, if you will, being edited 5 times, I don't think you're going to do real good in a one-on-one live debate. Second, this debate had some funny caveats to it, like there not being an audience present. Wonder why. And mics for the two men are going to be muted at certain times. So that one I kind of like, because in the past Donald Trump has just bulldozed over the other people, and at this point I'm gonna vote for Trump no matter what. But if I've listened to other debates before, and it just gets too chaotic with people trying to talk over each other and stuff. So I kind of like that one. But the no audience thing is hilarious to me. That shows that Biden wants absolute corporate control over this debate, with it being CNN or whoever's hosting it going to be the only ones videotaping it, and then they can, pull certain clips or edit it after the fact to make Biden look good. Whereas if there's an audience, they can be sitting there with their phone recording a whole live thing without any edits and post it to the internet. So I'm already calling shenanigans right off the bat before that debate even happens. It's funny though that Biden claims he's ahead in the polls, because we're seeing in real time that Donald Trump is gaining more and more popularity, because he held a rally last week in New Jersey where there was 80 to 100,000 people in attendance. Let me say that again. In Democrat stronghold New Jersey, Donald Trump held a rally where 80 to 100,000 people were in attendance. that shows that people all across the country are getting fed up with the Biden administration and the blatant lies and BS that they keep trying to sell us. And not just Biden, but just the Democrat Party BS every day. You know, when they say that the economy's doing well and people are, you know, the economy's growing and stuff. Like, no, we can see it in real time. Groceries are up, gas is up. You know, it's you can only lie to people so long before they realize they're being lied to. Eventually, people wake up though, and we're seeing that on CNN. Funny enough, out of all places, because Fareed Zakaria and Bill Maher have recently defended Trump on CNN. Zakaria says that the New York fraud case against Trump wouldn't even be a case if it was anybody else. And he's right about that, by the way. And Bill Maher recently brought up an old interview he did with Stormy Daniels, where she admits on camera that Donald Trump never sexually assaulted her. So, it's funny now that you've got these lefties that are even defending Trump because they see the writing on the wall, and it is clear that the Democrats are in some real trouble this year. Now, I hope that the Republicans don't snatch victory from the jaws, or I'm sorry, don't snatch defeat from the jaws of victory and screw this one up. So, you know, we need to get out and vote every time the polls are open for good politicians to get in office and, you know, get some of these bad ones out. Speaking of more funny business with the New York fraud case, Michael Cohen was caught in court lying during the New York fraud case. This is funny because this New York fraud case seems to be breaking down in real time. Every day it just gets worse and worse for the prosecution, and it's looking more and more like this case is going to result in Donald Trump being found not guilty, because they haven't even gotten to the defense yet, where you know, Donald Trump's side can argue their side of the case, and it's already just a major clown show. So if you find this funny too, let me know down in the comments. But that's not the only case that Donald Trump has against him right now. And if you didn't know, he's got one in New York, he's got one in Georgia, and he's got a case in Florida. That case is about him holding classified documents after his presidency, which every president has done. But I don't know if y'all remember a while back, the FBI there in Florida raided his home at Mar-a-Lago and seized a bunch of classified documents. Well, turns out they heavily tampered with evidence during that raid, and like placed hastily made up top secret cover letters on documents and stuff, trying to make it look official and whatever. But no, turns out they fabricated some of that stuff. So it's no shock to me that the FBI did this, and they need to be completely dismantled. You know, I've talked about it before. I'm only going to hit it real quick. See cases like the Gretchen Whitmer kidnap plot, where 12 of the 14 guys were FBI informants. Or every time there's a school shooting, the FBI comes out and makes a statement where they say, oh, well, this shooter was on our radar for a while. Well, then, and you did nothing about it beforehand? Okay. Moving on to some cultural stuff. Target has recently said that they are largely not going to be selling LGBT stuff during June of this year, and they cite last year's poor sales of said merchandise. Likewise, several cities across the country have stated that they will not be lighting up bridges and buildings and stuff with like pride flag light displays. Didn't really say why. They're just not doing it. So this kind of shows me that culture and society in America is getting really fed up with far lefty antics and are pushing back on it. So, you know, I can't say I blame people. Like I've talked about before, schools pushing, essentially pornographic content on elementary school age children really gets people fired up and kind of fed up with your whole movement too. So, I'm not saying that all people that are in the LGBT community are targeting children, but some of y'all are, and that's gross. To flip the script, I know there are tons of Catholic priests and, youth pastors and stuff from non-Catholic churches that have been caught trying to groom kids, and they should be put away forever too, or worse. But I don't make the laws, so I'm just a dude, talking about stuff on the internet. Speaking of people that need to be in jail, that's a good segue there. Apparently, an official from the NIH, National Institute of Health, has officially admitted to their organization funding gain-of-function research in Wuhan. And Fauci is supposed to testify before Congress again. So whoever that official is probably needs to be in jail. Anybody that was caught up in funding gain-of-function research should be in jail. And Anthony Fauci himself should be in jail because he blatantly lied to America not once, but twice about pandemics that were going on, resulting in more people dying than needed to. I mean, we all, if you're watching this on the internet right now, chances are you were alive during 2020 and all the COVID craziness. But Anthony Fauci was also, advising people for medical stuff back in the 80s during the whole AIDS crisis, and more people were killed during that than needed to be too. Go look into that if you want to. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail here, but Anthony Fauci's a bad dude and needs to be in prison. I also think Lindsey Graham needs to be in prison too, or at least voted out of office, because he was on, one of the corporate news outlets recently advocating for Israel to use nukes in Gaza. Why is this guy so damn bloodthirsty to get into war? Well, probably because he has a lot of stock in defense contractor companies. But, it's not going to be him going to fight in a bloody war like that. It's going to be your sons and daughters that are going to get sent overseas again for a war we don't need to be in. So, is it North Carolina or South Carolina? Can't remember. Anyway, if you live in the state where he's your representative, you need to vote him out this November. If he's even up for, I don't remember. It shows where my mind's at, but whenever it comes up to a vote Lindsey Graham out and get somebody else in there, because that dude needs to go. So do everybody else that voted to give Ukraine a ton of money, because a Ukrainian official recently said that millions of US dollars were stolen by fake companies that were supposed to build fortifications against Russian forces. I don't know if you heard, but apparently there's been a war going on between Ukraine and Russia for a while. And, a bunch of our money was stolen by companies that were supposed to build, defensive fortifications and stuff. And, so American taxpayer money was stolen by Ukrainians while our country suffers. Your groceries are more expensive, your gas bill is more expensive, your homes are more expensive, and our southern border is wide open, but we just gave a bunch of money to Ukraine and a bunch of it's just poof, gone. So, yeah, if your representatives voted to give money to Ukraine, they need to be voted out too. And possibly put in jail for treason, because I don't see how it's not treason to help another country while your own suffers. I know that that's not the legal definition, but that's just how I feel. Oh boy. Okay, this next topic here, this one's going to get me a little fired up, so I'm just going to warn y'all ahead of time. There was a 10-year-old boy by the name of Sammy Touche, I think is how you pronounce his last name. I apologize if I mispronounced it. But this 10-year-old boy apparently committed suicide due to bullying in school. Okay, there's some real simple solutions here to keep this from happening in the future. One, parents, quit giving your kids smartphones and smart technology. They do not need to be on the internet all the time. You're the parent, you get to decide when they're on the internet. Okay? Quit trying to be your kid's friend, be an adult, be the parent, and set some guidelines on them. You take away smartphones and tablets and laptops and stuff like that, then they won't get cyberbullied. Okay? Because, cyberbullying happens because they're connected on the internet all the time. Also, if you have teenagers that do have smartphones and stuff and they're on social media, teach them that it's okay to say no. I know on Facebook you can add friends, and if somebody tries to add you, you can say no. Followers on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and stuff, you can block people and just not see the bullcrap they post or get messages from people you don't like. So if you're being bullied by somebody in school, you can just elect to not deal with them on the internet. But it's just a simple block button. And if they get all butthurt, so be it. Okay? These are real simple solutions here. What's going to be a little more difficult is getting schools to end their zero tolerance policies on bullying. The schools claim that they have zero tolerance to bullying, but we all know that you don't do shit. I've seen it firsthand, and this has been a problem that's been going on for, a decade and a half. Because I was bullied in middle school, and the principal of my middle school at the time did nothing. Teachers did nothing. What did I end up having to do? Punch the bully in the face repeatedly until teachers separated us, and he quit his shit. So when you continue to punish students for defending themselves, you're only going to enforce this kind of behavior even more. And then that's going to lead to kids either taking their own life, or worse, trying to bring a gun to school. And then liberals will be all like, oh, we gotta ban guns, ban guns. No, we need to quit punishing kids for defending themselves. Because when you do that at a young age, you're setting a precedent in their mind that that's how the real world works. And unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. Each state has different laws on the books. So I can only speak about Ohio right now, because that's the state I live in. Ohio not only has castle doctrine that states if somebody breaks into your home, you're legally allowed to shoot them, generally speaking, and we have stand your ground laws that state basically the same thing when you're out and about. Now, I'm not a legal scholar. This ain't legal advice. This is just general observations. So when you punish kids in school for defending themselves, you're teaching them to be weak and spineless. And we don't need that in society now. We need a society of people who are strong, independent, and strong-willed that can also take care of problems on their own and quit relying on the system to do it. Because the systems are failing too. Because too many weak, spineless people are in charge of those systems. So if you're a school administrator, shame on you for perpetuating this. And if you're a school board member or a superintendent, shame on you for continuing to push these policies. And I hope your children are ashamed of you for doing that too. Because you are a coward as well. And I hope I've made this message loud and clear. Because this isn't just this one school that's doing it. This is a problem across the country. And voters, get out and vote for these people to get out of your school boards. Because at the end of the day, voters, parents, taxpayers, you're the ones that keep picking these people to be in charge. So we all really need to do a better job of who we elect, not just on a national level, but at a local level as well. So, that's the end of bad news for the week. I got some good news to end with, and I needed to end it on some good news because I knew I was going to get fired up about that story. My thoughts and prayers are out to the family of 10-year-old Sammy, and I hope that more schools can get their act together and stop with these failed zero-tolerance policies. Okay, good news to end on. Rumble is trying to sue Google for $1 billion, and they cite monopoly tactics for market control on streaming technology. Now, this has to do with more than just YouTube and the Google search engine. It really has to do with a lot of ad stuff, a lot of stuff that I'm not exactly smart on, but it is pretty apparent to me that Google does have a monopoly on digital infrastructure. And we know what happens when monopolies happen. You know, not so good things happen. If you need evidence of that, go look at like the oil companies in the early 20th century. Vivek Ramaswamy was recently on the PBD podcast, and Patrick Bet-David asked him if he would be Donald Trump's vice president. His answer was kind of shocking to me. In the past, he said that he didn't want the VP spot. And I can see why. He definitely seems to be a bit of a headstrong alpha type, and so is Donald Trump, obviously. So the two personalities might clash a little bit. However, this time around, when asked this question, he didn't outright object to the notion of being Trump's VP if Donald Trump asked him to be. So this caught my attention because this is a little bit of a change from his thoughts in the past. So maybe we'll see a Trump-Ramaswamy presidency. I'm not sure. I don't have a crystal ball, and I have no contact with Donald Trump whatsoever, even though he's hanging up right there on my gun case. There was an active shooting that was stopped at a Catholic church last week by an armed personnel within the congregation. I hate to hear that another shooting attempted to take place at a church, but I'm glad that there were armed personnel there to stop it before, a crazed gunman could do what they wanted to do. And I'm also glad that the corporate media never really broadcast this person's name. I don't even know what the person's name was. And that's probably a good thing, because we need to cut down on this copycat behavior. And if you're a Christian watching this and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. Well, let me quote some scripture for you. Luke 22:36 from the NIV version says, "He said to them, 'But now if you have a purse, take it, and also a bag. And if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one.'" End quote. That's Jesus talking, by the way. And, during the time that he lived, the weapons at the time, physical weapons, knives, daggers, spears, and swords. Today, we have firearms. I think the same logic would apply to that as well, because he knew that followers of his would inevitably be targeted by evil forces in this world, and we have the inherent right to keep ourselves alive should we be attacked. If you think differently, let me know down in the comments, but you're not going to change my mind on that one. And lastly, some really good news. Governor Greg Abbott has given a full pardon to Daniel Perry down in Texas for defending himself against an armed BLM rioter in 2020. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Daniel Perry was driving, I think it was in the city of Austin, I can't remember. I think he was an Uber driver or something, now that I remember it. Anyway, he was driving and accidentally drove into a BLM protest. And one of the people that was in this crowd almost aimed an AK-47 at Daniel Perry while he was in his car, and Daniel Perry drew his sidearm and shot the dude dead. So I'm glad that he got a full pardon, and to my knowledge, he is in the process of gaining his gun rights back, because that's literally what it's for. That's literally what the Second Amendment is for. So, Daniel Perry, glad that that's happening for you. And I'm glad that Governor Greg Abbott did this, because it shows that we're not going to take this kind of bull crap anymore. So, I've rambled on long enough. If y'all learned something new, like, share, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. So, one more thing. Not news related, but personal related. I will not be doing a news video like this for the next 2 weeks. I got some important stuff going on a week from today of recording. Today is May 18th. And then I will be on vacation the following week. So I've got some other stuff planned and kind of in the can to post while I'm gone. And I'm looking forward to doing this again when I get back from vacation. So until then, I'll see y'all next time. God bless. Stay safe.